Hello all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about stories, movies, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be reviewing Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, and we could not do this alone, so we are joined by two very special guests, friends of the pod, Heather and Morgan. Heather and Morgan, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Heather Stewart. You can find me everywhere, all the socials, Heather J. Stewart. Yeah, I'm a film fan, occasional podcaster, occasional Instagram reviewer, based in Germany, originally from Scotland. And from next year, I will be featuring more on Revisionist Almanac, of course, who I know you are in close partnership as part of the Movie Archer podcast network. So that's exciting. And I guess we'll be also collaborating more as well, hopefully.
Yes.
Well,
we had Heather on to talk
Yeah.
about the Oscars this past year. So that was so fun. So many incredible takes. So insightful. We love Heather. And then Morgan is new to the pod. This is his Movies and Us premiere. His debut. So Morgan, you want to introduce yourself?
I am Morgan. I am the creator and founder of the Hall of Film, which is a Hall of Fame voted on by people where we talk about movies, directors, actors, actresses. And you can find me over on my YouTube, and also started doing a podcast as well where I get people on talking about the ones that are already inducted. And that is about it for me.
Such a fun concept. Honestly, I love it.
Thank you.
That like engagement piece is so fun to see. Like, what do the people want? You know, there's these movies that are beloved, but like, are they just like well known because of the film?
There's still ones that you'd expect to be in that aren't, which still shock me to this day.
The Jodie Foster, isn't it? I think.
Well.
Yeah.
We're excited to talk about Wake Up
She's
Dead
missing.
Man. I think much anticipated for many people to get to see the next Knives Out mystery. So Sarah, do you want to kick us off with an IMDb summary for Wake Up Dead Man?
Sure. Benoit Blanc returns for his most dangerous case yet.
Oh,
Wow.
nice name.
They've not had chance yet.
Okay, so in Movies and Us tradition, we do our one sentence summaries. Heather or Morgan, as our guest, do you want to share yours first?
Morgan, you want to go?
It is just the most bombastically stupid one and just silly with this one. I feel the concept is absolutely incredible, and we just get a bunch of different characters this time that I think really bring something totally new to the series.
Yeah. Some colorful, bigger personalities.
Definitely.
Yeah. Heather, what is your one sentence summary for Wake Up Dead Man?
Okay. Thought long and hard about this. Okay.
Ooh.
All right. I have. Benoit Blanc and Father Judd discover Eve's apple cannot keep the doctor away, and a diamond might well be everybody's best friend.
Yes. Well
Wow.
done.
Thank you.
Wow.
You might as well forget all of ours and just leave that.
Yeah. Mic drop moment. Sarah, what is your one sentence summary for Wake Up Dead Man? Hard to follow that one.
It is hard to follow. I will try my best. My summary is: reading can unlock even the most mysterious locked room.
Yes.
Well
Yes.
played.
Reading, very good.
I love it. My one sentence summary is: Scooby Dooby, do not underestimate the power of radicalization, sensationalism, and some grace.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
I love the Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
It was such a good line.
Okay, well, let's dive in. Let's start talking about this film. We're going to start this section off talking about the film at a high level. I would love to hear if we round table, temp check. Like, how did you feel about Wake Up Dead Man? And what was your relationship, maybe perhaps first, to the Knives Out series, brand in general? Were you very excited to see this movie? Were you not? And then did this satisfy you? Were you satisfied with this latest installment in this franchise? So yeah, Morgan or Heather, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I love these films. I love the series. What I really appreciate about Rian Johnson and the whole series is that he keeps it all fresh. They're all three of them are so different. The first one is more your kind of autumnal, like big country house. Then the second one is on your Greek island, is a lot lighter in tone, maybe a bit more of a kind of a spoof of the whole whodunit genre. And then this third one is a lot darker, which I love. So that keeps, there's something for everybody in all of them. And I think when you talk to anybody, everybody's got a different favorite, everybody's got a different order. And that's the great thing about the series. But I don't think anybody is saying, oh, that one was bad. They're saying, yeah, that just wasn't my favorite. So I love that. So long may it continue, because I think he's really onto something. I think Daniel Craig is having the time of his life making these films. And just the ensemble cast that they managed to get together is it blows my mind every time. And even if they just have like one line or two lines, they're there and they're bringing their star power. And I just love that. So yeah, I was super excited for this one. I knew it was going to be darker, which I was really looking forward to, because I love Glass Onion. I really did like it, but it was a little bit too light, I think. So I was looking forward to getting darker, and I was not disappointed. I saw it in the cinema. The audience were loving it. It was packed and great experience. And then I just rewatched it again. So there you're noticing all the things that you maybe missed this first time, which is great to go back to and see.
So good. So good. So it sounded like this one, yeah, resatisfied, reawakened the excitement for seeing more of what you might do. Because sometimes with franchises, you're like, it gets a little stale by the third one. You know, they maybe had two bangers, and then you're like, okay, I think they're milking this, but it sounds like this one's satisfied. Morgan, what about you?
Like most things in movies, I tend to be late to the party, so I was late on the Knives Out hype. Like, I only watched the first one not too long ago, actually, for prep for being on Andrew's podcast next year. And then I watched Glass Onions last night, and then I watched this one today. And I really do think that everybody involved in these films are genuinely having the time of their lives. Like, it looks fun to be a part of it, and I think Daniel Craig's on a super underrated run as an actor anyway, that he's not getting spoke about enough. And this is kind of, as much as he'll always be known for Bond, this is one of my favorite roles he's ever done. Like, he's just absolutely ridiculous with it. And I think the franchise should continue massively, because, as Heather said, the each one is so tonally different. There's not one thing across all three really that you can connect other than Benoit. And each time he's kind of getting more ridiculous. Like, but from the first one to the second one, he got really like loud, but I feel with this one he's way more drawn back and not necessarily the main focus and the star of this film like the other two.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I'm excited to double click on that a little bit more, because it makes some interesting choices on who it centers, which is, yeah, distinctly different from the other two. Okay, Sarah, thoughts about Wake Up Dead Man? How'd this land for you?
I like this franchise a lot. So I was excited for this. I didn't love Glass Onion. I haven't revisited it since it came out though, so maybe I need to rewatch it now. But yeah, I had a good time with this. What I love about this series is that you can tell that Rian Johnson loves mysteries and he loves whodunits, and so there are all of these little details that draw upon like classic whodunits, classic mysteries. There's all of these homages to like the greats of the mystery genre, and I love that and I eat that up. So For me, had a great time. I think that this is a fun movie. It was too long for me. I thought that there were certain parts that really dragged, and I was like, oh gosh, I felt that whole 2.5 hour runtime. But other than that, I had a really fun time with it. I love the way that these films draw upon different themes and are very relevant to a lot of things that are going on in our world, while also being a really engaging and entertaining mystery. So yeah, I'm down for more of these as long as they stay this good. And Rian Johnson is one of those directors that I trust to be like, if he has an idea, he'll make another one of these. If he doesn't have an idea, he won't do it. So I'm excited if we get another one, because then that means that he has more interesting things to say, another interesting mystery to explore.
Yeah, this film really worked for me as well. I think the first one is such a classic for the format, and so kind of a reawakening of, gosh, don't you love these things, guys? You know you love these things, right? And then Glass Onion felt like such a spritzy, lighter, like you mentioned, take. It was fun. It was just entertainment, and I didn't love that one as much because I think structurally in the storyline and in the way that things unfolded in the actual whodunit was less interesting to me. I think this film kind of plays with and interweaves the social commentary themes much more closely with the actual mystery itself, which I think was a fascinating choice. The without spoiling too much, but there's these twists and turns, especially in the back half of the film, that are directly tied to some of the themes around the different people groups and the different types of characters and their motivations that I think is so interesting and fascinating. It's, I think, one of the things I love about Knives Out films in general is their way to explore these personality types, these caricatures that are representative of real life points of view, types of classes of society, types of points of view and stances that are able to be explored in a really fun way while also pointing to those things and allowing us to think about them a little bit more while we're having fun. And I think that's really meaningful and impactful for people to see, like, gosh, look at how problematic these points of view might be, and here's how they might play out. And also, we're gonna have a little fun along the way.
I think that's right. And I think what also kind of combines all three of them is that Rian Johnson, he seems more interested in the process, like, and the how it was done. Because I don't know about you guys, but I think it's kind of obvious in all three who it probably was. Okay, in the third one, we'll get into this. There's a little bit few more intricacies than in the other two, although the first one is also not quite as simple. But and I don't think he really cares too much about that. It's more to but how did they do it? It's almost like he's not as obvious as like Columbo or something, where you literally see the murder, and then it's all about Columbo and how he, gets to the solution. So it's not like that. So it does keep you guessing in a way. But to me, it's more about that and how did they do it, and look how clever Benoit Blanc is, because he knows immediately who it was and finding that out. And as I say, I don't think so. It's the who done it, but more the how did they do it? How done it, if you like. Yeah.
I always like how each time for the films we don't actually see Benoit until like a good chunk in, because we're learning the story and the characters, and like we're developing our own kind of observation of what's happened as well. And like that's when I think you start kind of making your own ideas up of who's done it, and then Benoit Blanc comes in and just completely either proves you right or completely makes you look like a fool. But I think like the first one is just like standard Cluedo. Like it's just a good whodunit. It's like traditional, with a ridiculously like colourful character like Benoit. Then the second one is like Cluedo, but like a special edition where it's like, why the hell is that a Cluedo edition? Like it's just kind of out there and everything. And then this is like a way more dark like version of Cluedo, if you like. I kind of feel like with the characters, it's the perfect mix of the first one and the second one, but it's not as
Mm.
huge like on an island. It's more scaled back, but the characters are as big as in Glass Onion.
Yeah, and the characters are so big, but the themes and the like core of who they are is also so like human and relatable, which I think is interesting because they're so big, and yet
Mm.
these characters still feel interesting and grounded, and the things that they're grappling with are real. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate the way that it's written so that you can have these big colorful personalities, but it's not so big that it feels like untethered from reality.
Like in Glass Onion, they're billionaires and famous people. Like no one can relate to that, but they've kept the scale of kind of the characters, but made them just human, and that's I think made it 10 times better than like Glass Onion was.
Yeah, I think in terms of the character, I mean, getting the ensemble is always incredible. I did feel that in the first two, that each of the characters had possibly a little bit more to do. Like we understood them a bit more. This one, I know why certain characters were there because we'll talk about, themes. Um, it's just a shame that they had so few lines or there was so few development. But as we already said, it is already very long. So how much backstory are we really going to get? And I think you get what you want. I just think, maybe a little bit more about that person's backstory, or just maybe a little bit more. But it's already running. But I find in the first two there was a bit more of that, perhaps because they were more intertwined anyway. So you could look, because they had the whole backstory. With the first one, they were family. Second one, they were like college friends, or I think that was it. Or maybe later on in life, like, young professional friends. They were each kind of enhancing the backstory of everybody else because it was all interwoven. Whereas this one, they were much more separate people, apart from the Kerry Washington character and her adopted son. Other than that, they were very, very disparate. So they couldn't really kind of fill up the gaps of the other characters. So that's all I felt like. Yeah. So I think we got a little bit less of the massive ensemble than we've had in the past, and much more focused on the kind of the sidekick, if you like, to Benoit Blanc. So in this case, Father Judd, more so than with Martha and with Andy or Helen or whoever we're calling her, Janelle Monáe, in the second one.
Yeah, I feel like the people that were kind of underused in this, it was a bit gutting for me because they're like a couple of my favourite actors as well. Like I wanted more Andrew Scott and Kerry Washington than we got, and especially Kaylee Spanny, who was there. And I don't know why she was there because she didn't really add anything, and she's a really great actor. So I was just like, oh, cool, she's in it. And then I watched it, I was like, oh, yeah, she was in it. Like, other than a couple scenes, I can't tell you kind of what her point of being there was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, agreed. I think the kaleidoscope of all of the characters, and I think that the key is that we didn't get to see them interact independently in their own worlds. Whenever we saw them, they were in the group, and they were in relationship to obviously our kind of three main protagonists, and so we didn't get as much time to see them like have their side conversation to reveal some motivations or reveal a little bit more about who they were or how they're thinking about this whole thing. So they would often just show up and pop in and kind of add color, but there's so much emphasis on Father Judd in this one that I thought that was a fascinating choice.
And he's great.
Let's maybe give
And
a
he is
spoiler
fabulous.
alert so we can talk about some of these like plot choices, character choices, filmmaking choices that Wake Up Dead Man specifically makes. So I'm curious, what are maybe some of the specific choices that Wake Up Dead Man makes that you feel like were distinct and either worked really well for you or, gosh, left you wanting a little bit more, perhaps?
I appreciated don't know if I appreciated. I enjoyed the fact that the mystery was not necessarily center. It was more actually exploring faith, belief, not just in religion, but also in like evangelical like figures, God-like figures. And that, so I live where I live is a very Catholic part of the country. And my in-laws are very, very Catholic. So I kind of have a lot of that sort of in the side, and I'm really not, but I kind of experience quite a lot of that. And part of me was like, oh goodness, this is, if you set somebody down from that world, they're not going to enjoy a lot of the destruction that you see of these Catholic, this like the cross and all this, the altar, but then I think actually you end up leaving it with a very positive view of real faith. So with Father Judd, he is a very positively portrayed religious, believing man. And as I say, I don't need that. I am more in the Benoit Blanc kind of, like there's nothing I would rather not do. Love that. But I still think there's a lot of very negative portrayals of religion and people who believe or kind of think, oh, they're so naive, etc., etc. But this showed that it can actually be, and this person was made for this, and this is what he believes, and he's a nice guy, and he's, he used to be a boxer, he's got a violent past, but he has found his calling in the church and in the faith. And I thought that was a really positive portrayal. As I say, this is not my world really, but I appreciate what they were trying to do. And I think Ryan Johnson has spoken about this. Like, I was also growing up in a very, Catholic family. And I like what he was trying to do with that. And I thought it was very interesting compared to, the other two films, which, yes, they touch on current themes and everything, but this seemed to go deeper. This seemed to be more personal. And I really appreciate that and how they did that. So I don't think anybody would necessarily be offended if they actually got past, the destroying of the cross and the altar near the beginning. But yeah.
Well, and I love the use of that church too. I think the way that they utilized it was really, really good. I loved what they did with the different like lighting and coloring too, especially when Benoit Blanc first comes in and he's, doing his whole spiel about like, no, I don't like this. I don't like this. And then it becomes all gray. And then as soon as Father Judd starts talking, these like really warm colors flood in, it becomes light again. So I love the way that visually the film also plays with these ideas of faith and all of that. So you're seeing it and you're hearing it at the same time. And it's just a really fun, cool visual that I think could have been overdone, but I don't think it is in this film. I think it hits right every time in this.
Yeah. A lot of it is very on the nose, but it's not too bad. It's like, I accept, and it's just, it is what it is, with the light through the window or the Grace coming in with the bright light behind her and everything. It's using the church, as you said, it's using the church and the architecture and the windows and the doors and everything, almost like a character in itself. So it's part of the story. And it's I love that when part of the production design or whether it's the production design, the cinematography, whatever it is, where you feel that is a character in itself and vital to what the filmmaker is trying to say.
I think the cinematography in Knives Out is really underrated and not spoken about because obviously that's not the main focus of why you watch these films, but there's often times, especially in this, like with when he's talking about the road to Damascus and then all of a sudden the sun starts shining through on him, like shots like that really make me go, oh wow. And then I'm like, this is just like a whodunit film, and the cinematography shouldn't be like this kind of high level. I also think the score as well's real again a thing that's not spoken about, like the music and the use of it in certain scenes as well. I also really appreciated the religious commentary, as Heather said, but also like how they use Josh Brolin's character to kind of point out the hypocrisy of some higher like rank members, where it's like they're not talking about faith and God, they're talking about themselves and kind of weaponizing it to almost make it cult like, where it's like, no, you're worshipping me, not God, but I've made you think you're worshipping God and like praising him and all stuff like that. I think was really a nice bit of commentary because again, it's not that world isn't for me like it isn't for Heather, but I can appreciate as well, like at the end, even when Ben was talking about the road to Damascus, and even though that's not like his wheelhouse and he clearly is not religious, I think even he could appreciate like the faith of Josh O'Connor's character, especially.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, Martha even says to him right at the end, like, you're very good at this, Father.
Yeah.
I mean, and you really do feel that throughout. There's a number of scenes with Father Judd where he's been pulled in one direction, but then something happens to bring him back to his actual calling, whether it's that wonderful scene with Louise on the phone, which I love. And there's a moment as well where he first meets, I think it's near the beginning when he's first talking to Benoit Blanc, and he's talking and he gets emotional and he's like, oh, what's wrong, son? And he says, oh, this, what did I wrote it down? He's basically like, this made me believe that I was a priest again or something like that, he says. And it's just, it's really quite lovely to see, and I think Josh O'Connor does an incredible job in portraying all of that, like all the doubts that he might have, but also that this is, you believe it. This is what he was born to do, and that's wonderful. Good
And
for
he
him.
does it all without feeling over the top or phony as
Exactly.
well, which is it's super hard line to balance when talking about stuff like this.
Yeah, especially when you compare it with Wicks, right?
Yes, yeah.
I was actually incredibly shocked at how favorably Wake Up Dead Man portrays faith and religion. Like you mentioned, Heather, I think in media, in the TV, in the movies that we watch, it is often played to be a joke or shown to be an incredibly corrupt and twisted system, which historically, yes, there's plenty of reason for that, and there's a lot of flaws in the institutions. But you just rarely see like a genuinely good-hearted, religious, faith-filled person, and for it to be portrayed so sentimentally, I think was also shocking to me as well. Like, I left this movie feeling like, gosh, I think Ryan Johnson's just kind of a softy. He has a soft spot for characters that are truly good, and so much of, especially in the first one and in this one, the character that is misunderstood, that is ultimately kind and good, does get to win at the end, and the kind of thesis is, like the kindness actually is what saves them. It's what ultimately clears their name, and I think that's a fascinating part of what is woven into the reveals of how they discover who done it at the end, and how they've done it and why they've done it, is that it's often the greed and the corruption, the twistedness of our human nature that incriminates the culprit, and it's the goodness and kindness of the person that is wrongly accused that ends up getting their name cleared at the end. And the fact that he loves to write that into these stories, it's an oddly sentimental way to think about humans, and the faithfulness that we have, and the hope that we have, the trust that we have, that goodness will reign at the end. And that's shocking. It's oddly
absolutely.
very sweet. It's woven into his film.
Yeah, and when I was deliberating over the one sentence summary, I was wondering if, I was considering something along the lines of, well, faith and religion is not necessarily a bad thing, right? And except that it's like anything, it is when it's taken to extremes. And I don't think it has to be like religion or faith, which is why I ended up not going with this, because I was like, well, it doesn't have to be religion or faith. It could be this and this and this and this. So, but I think that's what he's saying. He's saying anything is bad. when it's taken to extremes. And he's using faith and religion as a very obvious example. And of course, the parallels between Wicks and Donald Trump are obvious and really not subtle. But still better done than Mickey 17 and Mark Ruffalo, I have to say. So that's how you can do it, non-subtly, but better. So this is really obvious, and I wrote down a few things for my second watch, which a lot of it's coming out with Father Judd writing it all down for Benoit Blanc, and he's talking about Wicks's charisma, but how still every week he's picking out somebody else out to kind of criticize and scaring them in a way, and forcing this walkout where everybody's watching them, and then saying, but by staying in the congregation, people who are staying are, they're going along with it. They're kind of saying this is okay for us. And I think the parallels are extremely obvious. It's not subtle. And, we see it with your president, not your president, I know you probably don't identify, but the US president, that, yes, I mean, he just, the things he's saying, and then we were talking about the passing of Rob Reiner earlier, and by not criticizing and not coming out and saying what he said about that death is abhorrent, people are siding with him in a way, because if you don't say something, you're kind of allowing it. And that's an unfortunate case of it's an unfortunate recent case, but it's been true of Trump, of things that are being said by parties in the UK like Morgan, or in Germany, the rise of the far right here as well. It's like by not saying anything, you're condoning it. And I think that's he's also saying that quite clearly with Wicks. He's got his victim, he's got his somebody he's picking on, and everybody who stays and watches is condoning it, which is a very clear message as well from Rian Johnson on the state of the world.
Well, it's like even Kerry Washington's character calls them out for doing that exact same thing, and it's like, oh, okay, she's kind of woken up and smelled the coffee, and then she just goes back to also just supporting him still. And it's like, you said exactly what's happening, you were aware of it, but you're still blindly following him.
Yeah.
Well, and what I love about when Kerry Washington's character, speaks up and exposes Wicks, that kind of starts the ball rolling, and like what they do is not good. Like murdering Wicks is not the solution to our problems here. But I feel like that kind of breaks Martha in a really interesting way, because she had been keeping everything all in. She had been just keeping it to herself, going along, all of the things. That's how you survive in a high control environment. But when Kerry Washington's character speaks out, then that breaks her and gives her almost this push to break free from the system. Her choices are not good. There were other options available. But I do appreciate that it is this one woman standing up and exposing this that will then lead to everyone, for the most part, ending up in a better place, or at least they have an option to leave. They have an option to choose something else. And I think it's so representative of what, like, you hear about so many different cults and stuff, and how people get out, how cults kind of eventually like collapse in on themselves. A lot of times it happens because people start to speak out, and then that starts a domino effect. So yeah, I love that she spoke up, and that is what kind of started the ball rolling.
Everyone gets better off apart from Jeremy Renner. At least he still got his hot sauce, though.
I was disappointed they didn't do something meta with that. Yeah, it was a shame. He got
asked about that, and Rian Johnson said, "No, I just really want to work with Jeremy Renner." Yeah. It's like, oh, okay,
yeah. I don't know. I feel they could have done something, but hey, whatever. I guess if the three films are living, and they are standalone, like they didn't really pick up on anything from. Apart from Benoit Blanc, they didn't pick up anything from the previous ones. They didn't even bring back Hugh Grant, which was very sad.
I was just about to say, in a new one, I want Hugh Grant to tag along with him.
See, I
Yeah.
want Lakeith Stanfield back. That's who I
Yes.
want for
Yes.
the first film. So.
Yes, he was so good.
Yes.
But I do love that he brings back people in like little bit pieces. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt has been in a voice in every single one of them, and people, ask them, "Well, was he in this one?" And like, "Oh, yes, he was. He's a baseball commentator." And they're like, "Oh, wow." I'm blanking on the actor's name, but who was the barman in this one. He's also had roles in the other one. He was he was kind of like the weird sort of
The stoner.
gardener guy. He was like hanging around in Glass Onion. I don't know what his whole role was, but he was just like randomly there. And who was he in the first one? But yeah, he's also was he another policeman in the first one? I can't remember, but he's been in all three, and I like that. But yeah, those are tiny little parts. They're not like big ones. I think bringing back a major character like Hugh Grant or anything. But yeah, I don't know. I don't understand people like ripping on Mila Kunis. I don't think she was that bad. But
No, I was about to say I was pleasantly shocked by the majority of her. Yeah. Yeah. She didn't do anything terrible, and she wasn't amazing. She was just what you want. Yeah.
Which is what you want in this case. You have Benoit Blanc, who's larger than life, and then you have Father Judd, who's kind of in the protagonist space. So you don't want, the chief of police to also be this larger than life.
She doesn't need to be Glenn Close.
She was in her role. She did her thing, and then let Glenn Close do her thing, and she was great as always.
She was having an amazing time.
I know it's a loaded year. Can we please get that woman her Oscar? Please.
I think they slept on this film. Yeah, I think Netflix were just like, you know what, we're going to push Frankenstein. We're going to
Netflix have had
Kelly.
a way better year than they ever thought they would.
Yeah, but this
I don't think they expected it to all be this good this year. Like the slip walked into K-pop Demon Hunters being a huge success, and they were like,
gosh,
"Oh yeah, it's going to be nothing. We'll release it, and then it's the biggest thing ever."
Yeah,
both in the film and music world, which is wild.
Yeah,
like they're chart toppers. What?
Even though it's Christmas time in the UK, there's I think at least one of the songs still in the top 10, which is crazy. Yeah.
That's been wild. Yeah.
One of the choices that I really appreciate that Netflix has chosen to make, I'm sure it was financially very helpful for them as well, is having Wake Up Dead Man released out in theaters and being able to be seen in a theater experience. Even I know it was a very limited theater release. Like a lot of folks it's so far away they have to drive far to get to it, or not at all. But at least there was something. This wasn't like a straight to streaming choice, and I think, like we were talking about earlier, for a film that is so immersive and there's a lot of fun visual stuff, it's neat to see that this film was able to be seen by at least some people in the way that it was intended to.
They did that with Frankenstein as well.
Yeah.
So I think they're finally learning with the mistakes, because I know, like in an indie theatre near me as well, they put K-pop Demon Hunters on as well. So
yeah, the cynic in me is also going to say, well, they do have to do a certain limited release anyway to qualify for awards. So
yeah,
the ones that go straight to streaming are like, well, these are the ones that really these are the bad ones. These are the bad ones.
They aren't doing it out the kindness of the heart.
No. It's because they have to put them in a certain number of cinemas in a certain number of cities for a certain amount of time. So yeah, let's be real here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a big budget. So I read that the budget was like a sort of 130 million or something, and then the theater box office is like 5. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the Netflix model, So, but we'll see how that develops. But yeah, it was great it was great in the in the cinema, and but it also played really well at home, because my rewatch was at home, and it it still worked. It was still effective in a different way. You just pay attention to different things, I think, as well. And obviously with it being a rewatch, I was paying more attention to, especially like knowing how it then was all explained. You go back and then you watch and you say, well, could you have noticed the the wolf's head? Like, did you notice there were two, in the bar?
I somehow did. I,
I mean, you
I
only
still
watched it
don't know.
once.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
like, I swear there's another lamp with it on in the background. I was like, okay, they've not pointed it out. It's not important. And then when they did, I was like, oh my God, I'm a genius.
You're practically Benoit Blanc. Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. So I love the films when you can do that. I mean, with Glass Onion, it's even more obvious. Like, you literally see him giving the other glass. And here it's like paying attention to the wolf's head, and at what point does he get blood, and then when does the blood go on the floor, and all this kind of thing. And oh yeah, he did have time alone with him, etc., etc. So, just little things where even if you know or you're pretty sure who it was, the how is always so interesting as well. So
You always imagine the how to be quite simple, and then there's about 26 moving pieces with 4 characters, and you're like, okay, yeah, so we guessed it, but nobody guessed it that way, which I think's the charm of the movie as well.
yeah, I didn't have
It's also
Dr. Nat being involved.
No.
it's the excitement of also watching Benoit just get off on it too. Just
Yeah.
like he's like,
Yeah.
and then you tell her what happens next. Like he is relishing in his moment to finally tell you how smart he is.
That's
And
what I loved about
Doobie-doobie-doo.
Glass Onion the most was when they would when he was revealing the murder mystery, and then he went, "Oh yeah, but that's a dummy crossbow ball," and then just completely spoils it in about 30
Oh
seconds.
yeah, the
It's like,
game.
oh okay, yeah, like
And Edward Norton is like, asshole.
yeah.
You spoiled my whole fun weekend. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just so good. I mean, I think as well, what stayed from the others is just like the really smart dialogue, right? The script is just it's so tight. I know we were saying it is long, but there's just some, while the tone is certainly not as light as Glass Onion, and it's still very funny. There's still really smart dialogue and hilarious lines, and the delivery, and just they're all having such a great time. The Scooby-Dooby-Doo is great, or just the little things like he's listening to Skimble Shanks from Cats, which I just love, and then he plays Phantom of the Opera, like Benoit, his musical theater. He is a theater kid, and I love it. Or Jeffrey Wright. Come on, you bring the guy on. He has 2 lines, but one of them is "little punk bitch." Oh yes, Jeffrey Wright, we love you.
That's the thing.
Why you
Like,
get him. This is why you get Jeffrey Wright.
He's in 2 scenes, and he does more with that just because of how great he is than Kaylee Spanny, who's in the film for a large majority of the film. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, he was. I love it. Best line delivery, "little punk bitch." So good, so good.
I also think one thing that's kind of hilarious is like how everybody gets obsessed with the gem. It reminds me so much, and this is such a stupid reference, but it's so true. Is the golden turd out of American Dad? There is this like encrusted golden jewel turd that as soon as somebody sees it, they want it, and then they end up killing people for it, and it's just this chain reaction of jealousy and murderous intent just to get this golden turd. And it's kind of like that. Like, even when Josh O'Connor's character's staring at it, and Benoit leaves, you're like, oh, is he going to actually hand it in? Is he going to keep it? Is he going to sell it for money? Because he gives such kind of a sinister look at it, and then obviously the final reveal at the end, you're like, oh, okay, he's just a genuinely nice guy.
And that's why I love Heather, a point you made earlier around that this film really isn't a who done it. It's a how done it, and also like a why done it too. Like the twists and turns of the reveal is actually the who done it is actually multiple who's in this film. who contributed to the way things happen, the accidents along the way, the mistakes along the way, the intervening along the way, not following the plan. And I think that's why perhaps these are so satisfying and the rewatches are so good, because we just get to see it's character studies from all these different characters that are pressed, that are big and colorful. And when they have a shiny diamond in front of them, what do? Do they take it for themselves? Do they not? And I think that's this format is very tactical, very clear around someone dies and we're going to figure it out. But it's actually revealing of every part of human nature in this world and who will be aligned to what and what are their motivations and who chooses greed, who chooses selflessness, who's acting out of vengeance or family trauma and who's acting out of ambition. And then like all the motivations we have as humans to do big things in every direction. We're all seeing this full spectrum of that. I think it's interesting. We haven't talked about one of the characters, Sai, who seeks to use social media. He's kind of tethered to internet strategy to like make it big and to drive his ambition. Like his motivation is purely ambition and power, and it's not greed. It's a very different motivation in this film from, say, Martha, who's held on to this pain from her childhood for so long and the secret. It's so seeing all of that collide with each other is basically what all of these movies are. It's just humans that are flawed with big twisted motivations or traumas colliding with each other in interesting ways. I mean, that's just movies in general. That's stories in general.
I did love that line at the end where, Sai is saying, well, if I notice if you've, I want my inheritance, because he knows he's a direct descendant of Wicks and of the father who had the, or the grandfather who had the diamond. So he's like, well, it belongs to me. I mean, I guess not wrong. But he says, if I notice you making any, big changes to the church or donations or anything like that. And then I love it. It's such a clever line where he says, your inheritance is in Christ, or your inheritance is in the church. And it in Christ, I think he says. And it literally is, because of course, that's where he has hidden the diamond. It's like, yes. So clever. I love it. I mean, it's just a small thing, but I just think it's just a throwaway line that I didn't pay much attention to in the cinema. And then when I was watching it again, I was like, oh, wow, that's really good. I love it. I mean, it's just little things like that. But Sai is he's awful. I think he's just like the worst. Like at the beginning where he said, well, I've tried trans rights, I've tried women's rights, I've tried all of this. And he's like listing off all of the things he's doing just to get to your point, to get that internet clout, because that's what he wants. He wants the views. He wants to, it's like, oh, I've gone viral and I'm all over. It's another commentary on society. Like, he's not really living, is he? He's all about the views. He's all about the impression. He's all about the power and the effect that he has. And then he gets his political ambitions. So there we have it again. So it's another commentary on current society in this one character, or the Kaylee Spaney character, donating and placing all her money, all her everything that she owns in the church and hoping for a miracle. And there's so many people like that as well, who are just taken advantage of by institutions. It doesn't have to be the church, by institutions, because they are weak. And I mean, Martha says it also about Dr. Nat, that she specifically chose him, to help because he is weak. So she's no better. I mean, she's a murderer as well, but she's also no better in that sense. So even more commentary on society as well. The more you kind of peel the layers, like glass onion, peeling the layers.
I think it's interesting. The one kind of overarching connection of the film, and it is Sai, is how much kind of similar he's like to Batista's character in Glass Onion, where he's also weaponizes the internet and stuff. So I think that's just a real thing that Rian Johnson despises, is those kind of people like Andrew Tate and Ben Shapiro that just weaponize the internet for hate and views. And I think it's quite fitting that it's the only thing that's kind of overlapped across the film. So it must really be like his big pet peeve he's got with the current society like norm.
Because isn't there somebody in the first one? One of the
There is
grandchildren,
the
right?
little,
Yeah.
He's
the
also
younger,
on his phone the
yeah.
whole time
Yeah.
and is in like the bathroom or
So
something like that.
I think
There's
that's just
another
the
one
thing
there.
he
Yeah.
hates the most about society. It must be.
Yeah. Secretly, he wants to be the Edward Norton character and ban
Yeah.
phones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he has, I mean, he's done the 2 films with Netflix. So, because I was just about to say, it is surprising that, with his potential views on society and people being tied to their, phones or devices or whatever, that he's chosen the Netflix to go with Netflix. But it was just for 2 films, so it will be interesting to see if for the next ones, if he does decide to do more, if he sticks with Netflix or if he goes elsewhere to another. I can't remember who the first one was with, but it would mean now it's on Netflix, but it wasn't at the time. It was released by another studio, so that will be interesting to see if he then kind of branches out from the giant conglomerate of Netflix and their model, and going with a more traditional, if you like, studio.
The first one was with Lionsgate.
There we go.
Oh.
Yep.
And similarly, as inevitably, I'm sure we will get more Knives Out mysteries since these seem to make a lot of money, and so they're going to make more. I hope we continue to see the commitment to restraint in not making this a franchise in self-referencing constantly. I was so happy and so impressed that we never get any major line. We don't get Benoit Blanc say, yeah, well, this is like the last time I did it, just to like link it all together. Every franchise does that, and it bothers me so much because I'm like, I if I wanted to watch that, I would. I don't need you to tell me to. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of this is fan service.
Well,
but
it's like when they mention a case that he solved, it's something we haven't seen.
Yep.
Well, they
Kentucky
go,
Derby.
yeah, exactly. I also appreciate how across the 3 films, it's almost like we learn at least just one little thing about Benoit Blanc. Like just only one thing you kind of get from each film. Like this, you just find out he's really not religious, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, and that I think they make a point of it because his first scene, he just kind of rips apart the Bible and the hypocrisy of it, and he's like, but yeah, anyway, like and then just carries on as normal. But yeah, I just feel like it's fun learning this character. And I just hope that at some point they don't just go, oh, you know what, we're going to give you a Benoit Blanc backstory movie. Like, please don't do that.
No, we don't want that. No.
If
I think that's
that's
great.
my worry. If it keeps with Netflix, that they're going to go, oh, we'll pay you X amount of money, do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole Netflix. I don't know if it's true, but I read this like that Netflix, they assume that people are watching this but doing other stuff like on their phone. So there's a lot more exposition and unnatural dialogue than there would normally be because they're assuming that people aren't paying attention to what they're actually seeing. So they have to really spell out because they're just listening like with one ear and then one eye. And I think that's just I just can't see somebody like Rian Johnson going with that because he needs to have that creative control. Because the whole beauty of these films is what you might not have seen. You see it. It is blatantly shown to you, but you've missed it. You've just forgotten about it. And then when you rewatch, you see it again. You cannot, if you are literally half spelling out what's going on, you can't do that anymore. So he's going to lose something that I think is very magical about his films, going back and then spotting the stuff that was hiding in plain sight. You're not going to have that if you've got to have the Netflix kind of, we must make this available for people who are watching it with one eye on the screen and one eye on their phone and texting and whatever.
That's what I find weird about that thought process, though, because this year especially, they've gone with films and filmmakers who genuinely are like real filmmakers that don't make it for streaming. So, like the work with Guillermo del Toro and made Frankenstein, that is not a guy who's going to go, oh yeah, I'll make a movie where you can just understand everything that's happening just by if you're listening and not watching. Like they say one thing, and then the people they're choosing to work with is completely opposite to what they want to do, apparently. So Netflix is just a weird business model. It really is.
Yeah, I think it's more of a question sometimes is like whether the movie has already been made and they've then purchased it out of a film festival, or whether they have like creative control in a way over it as a Netflix original. So that's probably the difference. Although there was a lot of exposition in Frankenstein. So, but like it's literally two stories being told. So I think that is possibly the difference. Is like where have they bought the film from? It was already made and they were just looking for a distributor, and Netflix were like, okay, we're going to throw our hat in the ring and we're going to purchase that for however many million. Or where they have, real input into the actual story, the script. They have, like
It
for the
wouldn't
reasons that
surprise
certain
me.
filmmakers don't work with certain studios because,
Yeah.
well, I mean, look at Amazon and Denis Villeneuve for Bond. Amazon are saying basically, no, you're not going to get final cut on this, Mr. Villeneuve. So, and I reckon that's why Chris Nolan or whatever would turn it down, because that's not his way of working. There you go. I got in Chris Nolan.
I think you could almost bet as well that a majority of the films that have worked massively for as Netflix originals, they probably brought already filmed rather than the ones they had their hands on,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
but they're then like shipping it to us like, oh yeah, we made this. It's like, no, you didn't. Like, just no. I will say though, they're not as egregious as Prime films are, because uh they are just terrible, and I could do like a 6-hour rant on Bond and why I'm just dreading the whole thing, but yeah.
Can't wait for that 6-hour pod episode drop from Morgan.
Morgan just goes
yelling
live on
into a
YouTube.
microphone.
He just goes live and he's like, right, okay,
As
here we
soon
go.
as they announce that who James Bond's going to be, that's probably going to happen at some point.
Love that.
We shall see.
Okay. Any other last thoughts about Wake Up Dead Man? Things that we didn't mention that we wanted to shout out to or highlight before we wrap?
Yeah, I mean, I just really want to like highlight a few other things, like with the cinematography and the filming and, the mirroring of certain things. So like, you see the young Martha looking through the slit in the door, watching the father take, she says, his last communion. And then later on, you see the older Martha, exact same position, looking through the door, listening to what's going on, and whoops, a few minutes later, she's creating, a scene, because I think that's the moment where they're talking about the different kind of ways of killing somebody in the locked door mystery. So there's 1, 2, 3, and they don't get to a fourth one. Whoops, because she's worried that they're going to, perhaps reveal how she did it. Of course, you don't realize this at the time, but then when you rewatch, you're like, okay. So I love that. Just like this reoccurring imagery that you've seen before, or phrases that they repeat occasionally. Jeffrey Wright at the beginning, he says, "Good luck, son," or something, or "Good luck, kid," and then at the end, "Good luck, kid." Or did you notice the changing of the church's name? So it was Our Lady of Fortitude, and they changed it to Our Lady of Grace at the end. So they're just small things, It's like little things that you kind of pick up on and just think, oh, it's all part of the whole, right? But I think, so to me, the overriding thing that I remember from this is, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin clearly having an amazing time. Everybody having a great time. Looked so much fun, like you said earlier. And but to me, the heart and soul of this film is Josh O'Connor, and he is the lead. He is not supporting, whatever anybody says, much more than the other two kind of sidekicks were in the first two films. And he makes this film, because you have to believe this character, and you have to find what you were saying earlier. You need to find him good. He needs to work, no matter what your opinion of religion is. I mean, we've said not necessarily religious, but you have to have faith in this character and in his goodness, like you also said earlier. So yeah, that's what I remember from this film overall, is his performance, which is so beautiful. So yeah.
I think Josh O'Connor's going to be one of those people, like, because he did Challengers as well last year, which he was fantastic in. He's going. I think what my worry is with his career, he's going to do some amazing films, probably like in an amazing run, not get an Oscar nomination. Then the one time he does, it's going to be like, for that one, like really, like he's just kind of on that track. Daniel Craig is he's just so underrated and so good. And again, he's another guy who the Academy's just blind to. I think Glenn Close is just it's Glenn Close. She's always good. I also love at the end when it's showing like what the characters are doing, and Andrew Scott's his book premiere, and he just looks at the line, and it's all the same kind of people, and he's just like, "Oh my god, I regret my life choices." You can
But
just see
Substack hell.
you can see the regret and just like, "Oh man, this is my life now," and that's just a great moment.
Oh, I love him.
Oh, it's so satisfying, that moment, you know? It's like you
Yeah.
wanted to write your book about this
It was
story.
the
This
ultimate
is who
karma.
you're going to reach. Sorry. What did you
Hey,
expect?
you're making money. People are coming to see you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just not the people you expected it to be.
Nor wanted. Yeah.
I want to give a little shout out to just another line that I loved, and it's Benoit Blanc says to Father Judd, "Go to town, Father Brown," and I loved that because Father Brown is a priest who solves mysteries. It's a whole like cozy mystery subgenre of like priests solving crimes, and so I loved that little moment. So there's so many little references like that it's a funny line even if you don't know, but if you've watched Father Brown or read Father Brown, then it's even funnier.
Ryan Johnson loves mysteries as much as Sarah loves mysteries, so there's like a feeling of camaraderie.
It's nice to be seen when you're watching a movie, and I'm like, oh, you love these things too. This is
like
great.
the Oprah reading list. I was like, I've read that one, and I've read that one, and that one.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is I think this is a valiant, bold attempt on a very touchy subject, which I love to see. And I'm fascinated to see what thing he's going to push the needle on a little bit more and kind of go to those places that seem to be sticky. Like he could have done just another spritzy new Knives Out mystery. And so the fact that he wants to and feels strongly convicted to tell this story in this way, with the risk of pissing a bunch of people off on either side of every aisle and every institution, I just think it's like a ballsy choice when he could have played it safer. And so I'm excited to see with this landing, hopefully as well as it does, and this being successful, just where he will continue to push the needle on and go to those places and territories and topics that kind of are off limits. And he's like, well, I'm going to tell you a great story and you're going to have a lot of fun while we tackle some hard things. So I'm excited to see what realm we go to next. You know, we've
outer space.
You mentioned Heather traveled many different places. We've been in the autumnal mansion. We've been to Greece. We've now been to a small rural insular town in like the dead of winter. So where will we go next?
And you know,
I
even if they
want
don't,
a Hugh Grant adventure.
Yeah, have them go in a little rom-com.
Yes.
But also, even if they can decide not to continue, so I say let's take a little break. Creative juices flowing, and if they decide to end it here and now, I think it's pretty damn good trilogy. Like,
Yes,
it's. I know you lot are not so high on. I'm getting the feeling I'm the high person on Glass Onion, which is not to say it is my favorite, but I just get the feeling that that's what vibes I'm getting. But to me, it is a pretty perfect trilogy. I have to say, like, there's no. Yeah. Yes, opinions may vary on Glass Onion, but then you're going to have somebody who says that that's their favorite. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of it. There's no like obvious, like there are with some trilogies. Let's look at The Godfather, like where I think everybody is agreed that the third one is probably the worst. Like, I mean, you know, I don't know if that's really controversial to say, but I don't have that with these Knives Out films. I know plenty of people who will tell you Glass Onion is their favorite.
Yeah, I think Heather, it's a great point. There's something for everyone in this franchise, in this series. Even amongst all of the characters, there's someone to relate to. There's some character within the ensemble that you're like, I understand that character. I know somebody like that. I hate somebody like that. I love someone like that. There's something there, the multifaceted nature. So, well, this was a fun discussion talking about Wake Up Dead Man. Lots of incredible insights around the character choices, the cinematography, just the filmmaking components, but also thinking about this franchise's brand, the distribution as a whole. I think we covered like a really 360 well-rounded, multi-dimensional view of this film. So this is our review and discussion of Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. You can find it available now, I believe, on Netflix. It might still be out in a couple of theaters, but probably mostly kind of be able to see easily on Netflix. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Movies and Us, and a big thank you to you both, Heather and Morgan, for joining us to talk about Wake Up Dead Man. Where can people find more of you both if they want to follow, they want to connect with you, they want to hear more of your takes on the interwebs? Morgan, where can people find you?
You can find me over on Twitter and Instagram at Lone Wolf Mojo, and also over on my YouTube channel, where I will be doing plenty of podcasts and videos, especially for Oscar season coming up as we ramp up to that. So you can check me out over there.
Yep, and I'm Heather J. Stewart on pretty much all the social media platforms, and on Letterboxd, and just search my name on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts if you want to hear more of my guest spots elsewhere. I'm not the political journalist at The Guardian. If you search Heather Stewart and it's like, no, that's not me. So if it's film related, it's me. Otherwise, and from the new year, there'll be more of my content over on Andrew Corns' Revisionist Almanac channel, with the 90s draft coming up, and I'll be back to talk about the 1977 year in film, and lots of other European content I'll be putting up over there, and the current awards season, and lots of good stuff. Mount Rushmore's top 10s. That's where you can find a lot more content from me if you want to.
Love it. We will include links to the show notes for both Heather and Morgan. Go follow both of them. Listen to a lot more of their work on the interwebs. And we're heading into a fun season, I think, with Oscar season. So I'm curious to hear all of y'all's takes when we get to that point. A juicy, exciting time for us film lovers out here. So that'd be great.
For sure.
All right, well, our name Movies and Us sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your favorite juicy line from Wake Up Dead Man that made you laugh the most. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at moviesnestpod, or email us at moviesnestpod@gmail.com. I think we have some new merch that's available, so Sarah, do you want to share a little bit about that?
We have some new merch in the store, so that'll be in the show notes. So you can check out, we have one that is Movies Are My Happy Place. We have some one-sentence summaries, including one that our very own Heather J. Stewart requested. Lots of new exciting stuff in the store. So go check it out at the link in the show notes.
So fun. We'll include links to those. Check out our website, anusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies Us and our other podcasts, TV and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more. And we will be back here very soon to discuss a film that is getting so much buzz and tears. It's Hamnet. I'm very excited to see this film. The internet is just like, my feed is constantly just Hamnet right now. So excited to finally see this movie. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.